At the start of a new year or new semester, I always really like to do some getting to know you, icebreakers, whatever you want to call them. Some things that involve you building relationships with your students and your students building relationships with each other so that way they develop a sense of classroom community. The reason why I think that this is so important for our students is because we're going to be kind of pushing them out of their comfort zone when they output in a different language. And I have always found my students are more comfortable and more willing to take risks if they have some sense of community, if they have some sort of relationship developed with the peers in their classroom. Maybe you need ideas for different getting to know you activities for your Spanish classroom, so that's what this video is all about. Hi, my name is Ashley, aka Señorita Spanish, and welcome back to my channel. If you haven't yet, please make sure you give this video a thumbs up, click subscribe, and ring that bell so you get notified of all new content I create for you in the future. Something that I'm looking for in a good getting to know you activity for me is something that doesn't put students on the spot necessarily. I want them to be able to work individually and also just kind of like alongside their classmates. I don't want them to feel like everybody's looking at me and I don't know everybody, and like anything that would make them feel some sort of discomfort in that way. So one of my favorite getting to know you activities is something I shared about on my first day of school lesson plan video. It's a student information sheet and then a name tag foldable. And all they do is they fill out the information sheet and then they add their name really big and their last name a little bit smaller on the one side of the name tag, and the other side of the name tag they illustrate things that they like or they enjoy. And that way I can just kind of like, as I'm walking around the room, I start to connect their face, their name, and a little bit about themselves. And this way, because it's just illustrating, they're just working on their own, I can just kind of like float and start to get to know them while they are working independently and have time to kind of like make small talk with the people around them in a way that's very low stress. So another option is to do like an all about me project. And there's a couple of different ways you can set this up. So I just wanted to share some things that I've done in the past that I have really liked. So one option is for students to create like a profile or like a social media page about themselves. And right, social media is something that they understand, they very much relate to. So it's really easy for them to get really into it and just kind of like create their online existence. And you can either do this digitally or you can print them out and have them draw on them, but just so they kind of set up their profile so that way at a glance you get an idea of who is this student and what is important to them. You could also do like all about me banners or all about me posters, same kind of concept where the students are drawing and illustrating things that are important to them, some basic facts, so that way you can just get a glimpse of who each student is from what they choose to include on those pages. You can also have them do this digitally with a Google Slides presentation where they just share information about themselves. If you're working with slightly more advanced students and you're just kind of building in rapport with a new class, but not necessarily like diving right into a brand new language for them, you can also then take those projects, take those presentations, and have the students do like mini rotating presentations for each other as a good way to kind of like ease back into the language in a really low stress way, talking about themselves, right? Which is something that they should be comfortable with if they're in their second or third or even fourth year of a language. Finally, another really good option are conversation cards. And I've shared about how much I love conversation cards in the past. You can print them and just kind of use them as a quick fast finisher or warm-up, or you can use the digital option for your students. With a printable version, students draw a card, they all answer the question, or they're working with a partner, they draw, ask their partner, partner draws, they ask them. It's just a really good way to make sure that your students are like, if you put your students in small groups and just say, okay, get to know each other, sometimes they're like, no. So giving them cards with questions to actually talk to each other helps facilitate that conversation. And the digital version is really similar. All they're going to do is click to roll the dice on the Google slide and it'll prompt them with a question, so that way they take turns asking and answering, and then you haven't made those copies. It just saves you a step in your prep. Maybe your students aren't getting to know each other for the first time, but they're back together again after a whole summer apart. Then what? You still want to build that classroom community back up, but you're not starting from scratch with your relationships. In this case, I like to do a Mi Verano presentation or a Mi Verano activity. So that's again either printable or digital. Students just fill out, this is what I did over the summer, the highlights of my summer, or like the most boring part of my summer, or right, whatever it is that you want your students to share about or that they are comfortable with sharing about. And then again, if this is students who aren't necessarily getting to know each other, you're assuming that they're coming back from a summer where they are, maybe you had them in level 1 altogether, you had them in level 2, maybe you've had them together for 3 years already and you kind of have a strong relationship built and you're just kind of checking in. They could do some sort of rotating presentation where they share about their summers with each other. All right, I hope those ideas are helpful for you. As always, I will put links to everything that I mentioned in the description of this video. If you haven't yet, make sure you give this video a thumbs up, click subscribe, and ring that bell so you get notified of all new content I create for you in the future. Thanks so much. I'll see you in the next one.